Hey, Marcus. I'm
Michael?
good, man. Doing well.
Excellent.
How are you today?
Fantastic. It is a beautiful day, although it's a rainy day. The rain has brought some much needed moisture to the garden, and it aided in my sleep. So I'm feeling fantastic. How about yourself?
Doing really well. I got a chance yesterday to do a little fly fishing with my dad, so I'm feeling recharged and got a little bit of R&R in, so I'm ready to get after it.
Fantastic. Well, I am thrilled to be here today to chat with you. I would love for you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, so my name is Michael Leytem, and I am an executive coach, talent management consultant, and leadership development trainer as well. And I really specialize in helping organizations and professionals navigate all kinds of challenges that they face. I weave in components of mindfulness in some of the leadership topics that I discuss. And ultimately, I just want people to kind of show up as the best versions of themselves. So I authored the book, Catching Leadership, a few years back, and it uses a lot of outdoor and earthy fishing metaphors to really tie all the psychology components together to help leaders and professionals.
Fantastic. Uh, what would you say is your passion?
Ooh, I think people, number one. People. I've always liked people. That's why I studied psychology. I find them fascinating, whether it's differences in personalities, the shortcuts that our brain takes, and ultimately just wanting to make a difference in people's lives. So that's truly where my heart is. But the second one that's close thereafter would be fishing. I just love being outside and by the water. And it's always different every single day. Sometimes it can be very humbling when you don't catch anything. And other days it can be just like pure magic when you're out in the water making memories and things go your way. So
Oh
I
man.
love it.
I also enjoy fishing. I can't say I've spent lots of time on the water in the last 10 years, but man, before that, my earlier part of life, I got out fishing as often as I possibly could. So I know how awesome it is to fish, and I also have an idea of how much fishing can relate to life and be a greater metaphor, so to say, for growth and for redirecting and positivity, all of the like.
Yeah, it's really incredible. People who haven't been out there in a while, maybe you went as a kid, I would just encourage you to get out there and see what it does to your nervous system. It just kind of calms things down. You can kind of forget about some of the worries. It's amazing how healing going out and fishing and being outside is for leaders and everyone in general.
And I'm telling people that about nature all the time, fishing included. Get outside, go spend time going to do things that are outdoors. But, I think this segues into the reason why we're sitting down. There are a lot of problems currently with the way people are experiencing their lives, the way that they are living out their lives. And I think as we interacted and we realized that there is a way for us to share with the greater audience, we started thinking about some of those problems and we started wanting to really share that with the audience. And I think a part of that is the disconnect between people getting the energy and the motivation to go outside and to go work on themselves. Why do you think that's happening?
Yeah, I think there's just a lot going on right now. Definitely in the business world, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of challenges people are still facing. And, I think we can all relate to some degree, whether it's your personal or professional life, going through some hardships, even coming out of the pandemic. And I'm really thankful and grateful that conversations around stress and anxiety and burnout and mental health have been coming to the forefront.
Absolutely.
your life, something doesn't feel right, either in your career or in your health, you can keep running in the same cycle and you likely know where that's going to get you, or you need to be proactive and maybe try to pick up some new habits, whether that's journaling, whether that is getting outside and fishing, whether it's meditation, whether it's exercising. You have to be willing to put yourself out there and grow in new ways, because it's what's required right now of all of us.
Absolutely. And in that light, I think that there is a challenge that people have to get over, which is themselves in a lot of ways. We get so caught in our hobbies, our habits, and our routines. It becomes a mountain in itself to try to break them, to try to change them and steer them in a new way. But I think that's a part of the reason why we're here, to encourage people, to remind them we need to do that. There can be no progress without change. And you have to be the agent of change. You have to also hold over your agency of what you will change so that it actually moves in the direction you desire. And a lot of us, I think, take for granted the idea we have, but aren't really utilizing the steps to get there. And that's part of the reason why I was like, oh man, we really got to share things with the audience. I have a kind of approach to get there. You have a kind of approach to get there. There are multiple approaches to get there. People should be exposed to all of them. Find what works for you and challenge yourself. Dig deep. Invest in yourself so that you can take the steps to reach the benchmarks to actually get to your destination.
Yeah, something you just said brings up something I remember reading when I was writing the book, and it was related to goal setting. And so there's a lot of mixed advice when you are trying to do something new or promote a new habit, and you think about setting new goals for yourself, which is great to be intentional with what you want to do. But there's some research around the idea that if you tell someone the goal that you're going to do, so you want to run a half marathon or you want to go do something, you get that like dopamine hit up front because people say, good for you, Marcus, you're going to go do that thing. And so in a lot of cases, it's better to just take the action, kind of keep your blinders on a little bit and know what you're trying to do. And if people ask you, of course, you can tell them, hey, I'm noticing some changes. Like you seem like you're in a better mood or you're getting more fit. Sure, go ahead and tell them, yeah, I want to run a half marathon. But don't just go out there and blatantly say it up front and then lose the momentum, and then you don't actually get the change.
Absolutely. And you know, there's so many things to play with here. Some people, I find, have a thought, and the thought is so powerful, it's so incredible that it's all consuming. And the thought gives them energy, it gives them motivation, it gives them inspiration. But that's just it, the thought. And so they want to talk about the thought, and they talk about it, and they talk about it, talk about it. But the thought never gets to the point, the precipice point, where it hits action and turns into execution. And so you got to be really careful about how you share your thoughts and how you channel your thoughts. But that's a part of the practice, right? That's a part of the exposure we need to quality tools, to quality thought processes, to quality habits, back to needing to be able to change. Are you a great thinker, but haven't been able to transition into an executor?
Mm-hmm.
If that's you, well, then there's a good chance you really need some help. You really need some ways to recalibrate, reframe your thinking.
Yeah.
And that's a part of what people like you and I do. We help you reframe, recalibrate, rechannel your thinking. The leadership class that you're getting ready to run, I think, is a great opportunity for people to reframe so that they can redirect and re-engage their thinking. But there's something here that I think is super important, because there's this mix here where I am conscious of community. So many of us want to share our thoughts with our community because that dopamine feels great, right?
Mm-hmm.
It feels good to share and to be like, oh yeah, that's a great thing. But in a lot of ways, like you said, right, to just have that and not have it turn into fuel to actually push you to act on those great things means that there's a disconnect with your community. That's not to knock your community, but it is to acknowledge we are a byproduct of who we hang around and who we hang with. Inserting a new character into your circle may be what you need to redirect, send your roots in a new direction, get the higher height. But again, sometimes we don't think about it that way. We're not thinking about how we're affected by all of these elements. And so I know I said a lot of things here, but that's a thought.
I love it. I love it. I think the couple of things that came to mind for me is I want to be clear that when it comes to using community to be therapeutic, we all need that social connection, right? So I don't think what Marcus and I are saying right now is not to go and have those thoughts. Exactly. But when it comes to behavioral change and making a true difference in what you need to do, your actions will speak louder than your words. And I really think it comes down to intrinsic motivation. And I want you to think about doing things because you naturally have a desire to want to do those things, and not worrying about the external validation that you need from other people of why you're doing it. Follow your soul, follow your heart. If you want to get in shape because you want to feel better internally, yeah, of course you'll look better and maybe you'll get more followers on Instagram and all those external, validating things. But at the end of the day, do something for yourself. So if it's in your career and you need to make a change because you hate your job, or maybe you just got let go and you're feeling like you're down in a downward spiral right now, use this time to get clarity with yourself. What do you love doing? Who are you? What are your unique skill sets that you bring to the world? And then whether it's through a course, a program, a coach, or even just working through it yourself, try and align as many of those things together and be willing to take the plunge when you need to. Bet on yourself. It is the best bet that you can make.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I talk to people all the time. My company's mission is to empower people to build, to work on themselves as individuals so that we can build stronger communities and healthier habits. And so we can build stronger communities and healthier environments. Sorry. And the thing that strikes me so often is that people are driven to work on something external, and they're affected by something external, and they want something external. But all of this external will not really help the internal, which is why you have to start with the internal first. You got to work here before you go out there. And so much of what we're talking about from my lens is to remind you to work on all the parts of yourself, your mind, your body, and your spirit, so that you yourself can be the strongest pillar of your community that you can be, not anyone else, you. And once you've done that, I think it's so much easier for you to be a productive member of your community, a healthy member of your environment. And it's in that light, I'm really wanting to remind people, look for the tools that are going to help you better yourself, that are going to help you train yourself. Life is all about learning, all about growth. So a lot of people right now, especially in the career center, feel unsettled, feel like they don't have foundation, feel like they can't get a grip anywhere so that they can climb their vine and grow. But what I've found is that a lot of times that's because you only have one idea of how to grip. You have only one idea of where to go to climb. And in that way, I think you got to really start thinking about who can I spend time with, where can I go to learn new ways, to learn new techniques for growth.
Every time you say something, I want to like go 3 different directions because there's so much goodness in there, Marcus. Seriously, man. First one about the inner work, that's going to be your foundation, and that's what's going to get you through thick and thin. So it won't matter when life throws you hardships, if you have all those extrinsic things, you know. I know money, of course, is important, but like whether it's your followership or how many reactions or likes or, well, all of those things on the periphery, right? If you do that internal work and you build up that foundation, know who you are and what you bring to the world, when life gives you lemons, you still are confident on the inside that you can make the lemonade out of it because you've taken the time to do that. So that's why I try and incorporate it in some of the leadership work I do. And at first, you know, I'll go into these organizations and they're kind of used to the cookie cutter leadership training programs of the various topics. And there's a lot of great facilitators out there doing great work. But I want to challenge them to do exactly what you said, Marcus. Like, let's start with the release of what are you letting go? What concepts, labels, who do you want to be? What are your dreams? Let's figure you out and then let's build from there, as opposed to trying to just put band-aids on a bunch of the challenges or deficiencies that you have. Because if something like a letdown or a layoff comes around, it can totally spin you out of control in terms of your psychological or mental health. Here's a couple of interesting statistics about layoffs in particular, or losing a job, that I found fascinating. The average number of years it takes for someone to rebound from the psychological trauma of being let go or losing their job is 2 years. It takes you 2 years to recover. And I'm not saying that losing a job isn't something that, you know, is going to take time to process, but my goal is to help accelerate that and maybe have it only take 3-6 months, you know, and let's get you back on track, as opposed to letting like. And here's the other one that's fascinating. I know, Marcus, with the space that you're in with wellness and well-being, they looked at, this study in particular looked at individuals who didn't have any pre-existing health conditions, so healthy individuals, if you will. They lost their job, and then 15 to 18 months after losing their job, 83% of them had at least one health condition. So it could be hypertension, it could be stress related, it could be depression. But I just found that like fascinating, how you had people with no pre-existing conditions, they go through a major stressor in their life, and then 15 to 18 months later, they're feeling the physical ailments with it.
I would love to layer that with how much community they had access to once they were laid off, because a huge part of what layoffs are, which I think we should define just for the sake of the audience. What is a layoff and what is a letdown? Are they the same thing? Are they different? What are they? And I'll let you answer that so that it's articulated in a way, and then I'll come back and finish my thought here.
Yeah, I think a layoff can be a letdown for sure, but a layoff and what I'm talking about specifically is you held a position, a job, a role for an extended period of time. You tie your identity to it. It's what you do for the majority of life. It provides a paycheck. It gives you a sense of, I did something productive for my family today. And all of a sudden that poof is gone, and happens pretty suddenly that you didn't realize it. So immediately you start asking yourself all of these questions. Why was I on the chopping block, right? Am I not good enough? Am I a low performer? And all of a sudden, if you're not very intentional and careful with where you let your mind go, you're going to start creating a story that takes you into a very, very bad place, which will create all of these health conditions and mental health conditions. But if you can catch yourself going through any stressor or a letdown, you know, it doesn't have to be job related, but it could be, I don't know, maybe someone left you, a partner left you, maybe you're just dealing with, you know, something in the family, an issue that's going on, anything life is throwing you, a curveball, right? How can you catch your thoughts and then say, wait a second, that thought isn't really helping me or is productive to what I'm doing? What's the silver lining here? What can I learn from this experience? How can I get better from this hardship? And start rewriting your story that way instead of focusing on the woe is me and kind of creating that dark cloud in front of you.
So one of the things that this speaks to is communities' impact on our well-being and also environment's impact on our well-being. These things are pillars to me for growth, okay? And so where we work tends to be a huge part of our growth because we get community from where we work. Even if we don't know the people very well or we don't really like the people, we spend time with these people, working with them, sharing with them, energizing with them. So they become a part of our community, a part of our growth. And the same is then to be said about wherever it's happening that we are interacting. And a lot of us had that shift from a communal setting, a building, a brick and mortar, to a space that is indoors, away from each other. I would love to see the numbers to find out if that separation didn't accelerate or even lengthen the duration of the sickness. Because what we find, and it doesn't matter where you go, what culture. I've spoken to so many spiritual leaders who have all reaffirmed the fact that love is abundant. People's doubts and fears get in the way of people actually sharing love, and then that makes them cut off and covet, right? When you think about what happens on a human scale from a layoff, right? The blow, the betrayal, the lack of trust, these things like seep deep inside of one's being and can be really, really hard to even want to address. And so that's why these kinds of settings, that's why the coaching program you're offering, I think is important, because I don't know that enough people are conscious of the need to reconnect with community, a community of people who are of like mind, who are wanting to grow. What I find is that so many people who experience this want to cut themselves off from everyone, want to cut themselves off from everything. All of a sudden, you don't trust the same way. You don't believe the same way. And that, I think, has had some other repercussions on society. I don't think we have to go into it, but I just think as a greater scheme and a greater lens, how important community and environment are. Insert company, which creates community and a place for environment, and then say company doesn't care about members. That has a blow on each one of us as an individual, and it's up to each one of us to bond, to stick in there together to grow.
So a couple statistics that I've been presenting on in one of the keynotes that I've been delivering. This is from the U.S. Surgeon General. They've been looking at, after the pandemic, the mental health repercussions of the pandemic, and in particular, work stressors. So 76% of people, this was in 2022, and 76% of the workers that they surveyed said that they believe that they've been experiencing at least one mental health condition in the last couple of years. So 3 out of 4. Of those, 84% said that their work environment is negatively contributing to that mental health. And here's the other kicker. 81% of them said they are only going to apply and work for employers in the future that care about their well-being. So we have this issue, and we know that You know, people need work, and it is good for their psyche to feel like they're contributing to society, and of course to get that paycheck and whatnot. But my challenge to organizations is, how can you up your well-being game? Because if you can actually care about people and allow
Mhm.
them to show up in the best version of themselves, you're going to get more productive people. They're going to
Right.
be healthier, and they're going to go home and be happier with their family and their community. And it's just a chain
So,
reaction.
so that's where I feel like some of the greatest disconnect has come between our drive for efficiency in the world and our drive to maximize time and space for the sake of efficiency in the world, and how we actually help life. If you want to have more efficiency and more time in general in the world, we would spend more time focusing on bettering our lives, bettering each other, making sure we all feel empowered and confident in skill sets. That would lead to an incredible state of humanity. But we instead push the idea of efficiency, go, 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 go. And it's like, well, hold on. That's actually inefficient for human beings, which then becomes inefficient for your company, which then you complain about and have to like readjust because of the inefficiency. It's like, well, it was inefficient to begin with. Just slow down, realign your rubrics to be in line with life, and you will skyrocket in time. You will actually reach your metric of 200 years likely in just 20 years, but you have to stop being so short-sighted in your drive to get there, because your drive is actually exhausting your fuel. You don't go from A to B on a full tank of gas by pressing the gas pedal down the entire time.
It's
That's not a great way to
it's an
drive.
imbalance. It's an imbalance with the expectation of work. It's an imbalance sometimes with people and how much they're willing to trade their health for their work. And I think that, you know, one of the good things right now is even a conversation like this, that people may have known about it for a long time, that the current mode of operation in corporate America is not conducive to a healthy lifestyle. And there are some beautiful companies out there too. I'm not trying to, you know, cast everyone with the same paintbrush here. There are some organizations doing it well, but in general, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here. And it comes in twofolds here. Individuals have to be willing to find that balance, do the inner work, all the stuff we're saying, know what their boundaries and priorities and what's going to make them happy and fulfilled in life. And at the same time, organizations need to be putting in policies and listening to their employees. If you get those two working in tandem, now you'll notice a difference. But what's happening sometimes right now is both are pointing the finger. The organization saying, well, what do you want me to do? I can't tuck my employees in at night and make sure they sleep and
Right,
eat well. And then
right,
the
right.
employees are like, well, I can't do any of the, you know, activities or exercise because my workload, I'm working 67 hours a week. So it's just, yeah, it's the constant
Right.
blame game. And so we got to change that to create some better balance. And it starts
Agreed.
with, you know, looking at the statistics, looking at the research and saying, there is a win-win here. Let's try
Agreed.
something new.
Hmm. Agreed. And I'm very thankful that you are willing to go out and have these kind of conversations. I think more people need to be having these kind of conversations, because it will encourage people to have the conversations. And people make up these organizations. People are the ones running these organizations. It has not been handed off to AI just yet. So until it is, right, we all really need to be having these conversations and encouraging a new way of approaching careers, new way of approaching the structure that is business. And for the people who have experienced layoffs, for the people who have had some problems, I hope that they use you as a quality resource to redirect their pathway. So you want to tell them a little bit about your intensive?
Yes. Thank you for saying that too, Marcus. It means a lot to me. It is my mission. I want to just help people again and help the organizations that they live in. But I have a really cool opportunity coming up It's called Empowered to Lead. It starts October 17th, so we're just a little under 2 weeks away. It's a 6-week group coaching program that I will be leading with a group of dynamic leaders. We'll show up weekly on Tuesdays for 90-minute sessions. We're covering some awesome leadership topics, redefining yourself as a leader. That's doing some of the inner work up front, learning how to let go, finding greater balance in your life, improving your communication, casting a new vision for yourself. And then we end the program with creating a roadmap for 2024 with some milestones and some of those anchors that can center yourself. And this is one of the programs, I've run it 3 times now, and I make it a little bit better each time. And I'm just really excited to provide something to individuals at a price point that is affordable. So whether you are going through a letdown or a layoff and you need some redirection, some guidance to accelerate that loop we were talking about, or let's say you still have your position, but you're just not fulfilled and you just want to maybe explore what else is out there. Maybe you have aspirations to start your own business, whatever it might be. This will help jumpstart you. So it's called Empowered to Lead. Go check it out. I promise you it'll be worth the while.
Yep. Go check out Empowered to Lead. And when you do, you will probably see my face somewhere there here in the next little while. Looking forward to joining you for one of those sessions. And
yeah, time out. I forgot to say one of the greatest bonuses is that Marcus is going to be joining. I think I'm going to be putting you in and finding greater balance or learning how to let go. So it's going to be one of those sessions.
Okay.
Marcus is going to come in and share some of his gifts. And then I'm going to come and reciprocate that for him too, because we are so aligned in our thought process, but we definitely have 2 different niches that we kind of play in. So I'm just really grateful for Jason Getkin for connecting. You said something, Marcus, earlier about getting new people in your network, getting new people to help you. And I feel like I found that with you. So I just want to say thank you for bringing me on here today too.
Yeah, much appreciated, man. Thank you. You know, it's important that I state in terms of resources, right? There are a lot of resources, people. So make yourself the priority. Go and use the resources. Howtogrowschool.com has resources for you, different classes that you can take. They're all 50% off right now. Go and use the resources. Michael's telling you about a 6-week intensive. That is a great tool set. Go and use the resources. Wherever you are in life, think about community as being your way into a new echelon of space, a resource. And if you feel cut off, these are opportunities to get tapped back in. So don't give up on yourself and don't give up on each other. As always, please remember, share love, kindness, patience, and positivity so we can build stronger communities and healthier environments, and we can all grow together. All right. Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Take care, everyone.